Have you ever watched David Copperfield perform and thought, is this guy actually bending the laws of reality? Because some of his illusions are so impossibly perfect, they make even logic feel like it's been hacked. Today, we're exposing 6 of them. The Great Liberty Vanish, Copperfield's iconic illusion. What if a man once made the Statue of Liberty, a 305-foot national symbol weighing over 200 tons, vanish into thin air, live on television, in front of a real audience, without using a single camera trick? No CGI, no editing, nothing that could be dismissed as TV magic. In 1983, David Copperfield pulled off what is still considered one of the greatest illusions in human history, and he did it not by manipulating the statue, but by manipulating reality itself. The brilliance of the trick lies in one simple truth: he never made the statue disappear. He made the audience's belief in what they were seeing disappear, and the way he did it is almost disturbingly genius. Everything began with the stage setup. Copperfield invited a live audience to sit on what looked like a large viewing platform facing the Statue of Liberty. It seemed innocent, just a raised seating area. What no one realized was that this massive platform was actually motorized and designed to rotate extremely slowly. So slowly, in fact, that the human body could not detect the movement at all. To the audience, they were sitting perfectly still the entire time. In reality, their entire field of view was about to be shifted without their knowledge. Between the platform and the statue stood 2 towering metal pillars, and between those pillars hung a giant curtain. When Copperfield dramatically raised the curtain, lights flashed, music blared, anticipation surged, and every eye was locked on what was happening in front of them. That was the trap, because while everyone was staring at the curtain, convinced the action was happening behind it, the platform holding the entire audience began to rotate ever so slightly, only a few degrees off its original alignment. That tiny change was all that was needed. When the curtain finally dropped, the statue was no longer in the direct line of sight. It hadn't moved, the people had. From their new angle, the statue was perfectly hidden behind one of the pillars supporting the curtain ring, not gone, just invisibly tucked behind architecture and angle. But Copperfield understood that deception only works when it's layered. He filled the air with blinding spotlights and fog to kill any depth perception. He even displayed a fake radar scan on live TV, showing a space where the statue should be. This was not a magic trick. This was sensory warfare. He wasn't just controlling what people could see. He was dismantling their ability to trust their own senses. And the final flourish? The reappearance. After letting panic and awe peak, he simply rotated the platform back to its original position and lifted the curtain once more. Lady Liberty stood exactly where she had always been. In the end, nothing supernatural happened. No teleportation, no invisibility, just pure mastery of psychology, engineering, and attention control. Copperfield didn't need to change reality. He just needed to change your perception of it. For one unforgettable night, the most iconic monument in America didn't disappear from the world. It disappeared from belief, and that is far more powerful. Berkeley House, Copperfield's haunted spirit cabinet. What David Copperfield once walked into a haunted house on live television, got tied up by real audience members, and then vanished into thin air along with one of them, while the house itself began to violently come alive? Sounds insane, right? Like something straight out of a Victorian horror film, except it actually happened. And it wasn't a movie, it was the Berkeley House illusion, arguably one of the most chilling and cinematic magic performances ever staged. Copperfield didn't open with flashy gimmicks or explosions. He started with a story, a quiet, unsettling tale of an infamous brothel in the 1800s known as the Berkeley House, a place dripping with scandal, whispered deaths, and a mysterious fire that supposedly ended it all. What made the setup so powerful was how real it felt. He showed old photographs, historical references, and eerie documents. Can you believe he even convinced people this place truly existed? That's the first trick. Make you emotionally invested before he even touches the illusion. Then he reveals it. A miniature haunted house sitting right there on stage. No cartoonish prop. It looks painfully authentic. The peeling wood, the decayed detailing, the claustrophobic architecture, everything screams too real. And here's the craziest part. Copperfield lets the audience walk up and inspect it. They touch it. They confirm it's solid. No mirrors, no cheap theater gimmicks. It is, as far as they can tell, a real, tangible relic of something cursed. And then, in in a move that instantly raises the stakes. He steps inside. Volunteers, regular people, are asked to tie him up with ropes. Tight, brutal, no wiggle room. Copperfield makes it clear that if something happens in there, he's trapped. You can literally feel the tension shift in the room. Isn't it wild how fear becomes more real when you suspect the magician might actually be in danger? The house is sealed, and that's when it starts. The lights flicker, the structure shakes. You hear whispers from nowhere. Objects move. Shadows dart across frosted windows inside the miniature house. The audience is watching something that looks completely impossible. A tiny haunted house becoming possessed before their eyes. And then, the moment that absolutely destroys logic, Copperfield vanishes. Not escapes, vanishes, not alone. The audience member watching from up close vanishes too. The house is ripped open. It's empty. How is that even possible in a space that small? That's where the brilliance lies. Everything is mechanical precision, hidden trapdoors, black space movement, projected phantoms timed to millisecond perfection, and yet none of that is what makes it unforgettable. It's the fact that it doesn't feel like a magic trick. It feels like a haunting. Copperfield didn't just perform an illusion. He resurrected a ghost story and then let it devour him. Barclay House isn't about fooling your eyes. It's about fooling your instincts. It's staged like history, executed like a theater, and remembered like trauma. Isn't it crazy how the greatest illusionists don't just break logic, they make you question reality itself? That's why Barclay House remains one of Copperfield's most terrifying triumphs. Not because he disappeared, but because for a moment, everyone in that room felt like they could be next. The vanishing jet, Copperfield's spectacular airfield escape. What if a man once made a full-size jet, not a model, not a replica, but an actual commercial airplane, vanish in front of a live audience, surrounded by people, with no camera tricks whatsoever, no special effects, no CGI, just raw, real-time impossibility. Sounds ridiculous, right? And yet David Copperfield did exactly that, and it remains one of the most outrageous illusions ever performed in modern magic history. The performance begins in a way that instantly disarms you. Copperfield doesn't just show you a plane, he surrounds it with real audience members, blindfolded, hand in hand, forming a human chain around it as if they are physically protecting it from being moved. It feels like a security measure, but it's actually psychological warfare. He's making you believe movement is literally impossible, planting the idea that what you're seeing is an unbreakable reality, and once your belief is anchored, he can manipulate everything around it. The jet itself is positioned on an airfield-like stage setup, surrounded by massive scaffolding, lighting rigs, and high structural panels. At first, it looks like nothing more than an open-air presentation, but that's the trick. It's not open at all. It's a controlled box, disguised as openness. While the audience is watching Copperfield speak, dramatizing the intensity, building tension, the real deception is already started. The stage is designed with hidden pathways, sliding partitions, and mechanical floor systems that can shift objects silently. Yes, an entire plane can literally be rolled into an unseen side compartment without anyone noticing if their minds are looking in the wrong direction. And that's where Copperfield's psychological genius kicks in. At the perfect moment, the lighting changes. Bright frontal lights drop, backlights activate, and suddenly, what you see is mostly shadow and silhouette. The plane looks like it's still there, because a projection or illusory silhouette continues to show its exact outline. Can you believe that most people's brains accept shadows as absolute proof? Even trained professionals do. Then comes the misdirection bomb. Copperfield either creates a moment of complete blackout, or lowers a temporary screen or curtain for just a breath of a second. In that fraction of time, the plane has already been slid behind a concealed partition, a hidden shell, swallowed by the stage itself. And when the lights come back up, the jet is gone. Gone. The human chain, still unbroken. The shadows, gone. The airfield behind, empty. Your brain malfunctions, because every rule of physical reality just got violated. But Copperfield doesn't stop there, because sometimes, just when people think they've hit the peak, he brings the jet back from another part of the stage, as if it teleported across existence. And suddenly, the illusion goes from impossible to supernatural. Know what's the best part? This entire masterpiece has nothing to do with making a plane disappear. It's about making you believe it couldn't have moved. David Copperfield doesn't just beat the laws of physics, he beats the human mind before the trick even begins. Isn't that the real illusion? The fact that you never even realized your perception was the thing being controlled all along? The portal. Copperfield's teleportation masterpiece. What if a magician didn't just vanish on stage, but disappeared and instantly reappeared on a beach in Hawaii, live, while holding hands with a random person from the audience who swears it's real, not a camera trick, not a cheap green screen? David Copperfield's infamous portal illusion didn't just break logic, it made people question whether teleportation might actually exist. And the disturbing part is, it feels real. Copperfield doesn't begin with a trick. He begins with emotion. He selects a random audience member, not a plant, not an extra, a real person with a real story. He asks about someone they miss, somewhere they once dreamed of going. He doesn't just perform a magic act. He builds a personal reason for the impossible to happen. And before the illusion begins, he already has the entire room emotionally invested. Isn't it crazy how we trust magic more when it answers a desire we never said aloud? Then, the staging kicks in, but subtly. Projection screens light up, cameras zoom in. We see everything, or at least we think we do. Copperfield makes it obvious that there are no hidden exits, no secret doors. He even places a camera operator on stage to record everything up close. That's how deep the psychological game goes. If he makes you believe you're getting behind-the-scenes access, you'll never question what's just beyond the frame. But what if I told you that's exactly where the illusion lives? While the emotional story reaches its climax, the lighting shifts. A curtain flutters for a split second. Fog fills the air, just enough to distort depth. And in that precise moment, the switch happens. A trap, a rotating floor, a concealed passage, even a mirrored barrier, all are possible. Copperfield and the chosen audience member vanish, not when you expect, but a heartbeat before you realize to look. The screen instantly cuts to a live feed from Hawaii. Waves crashing, moonlight, a beach, a cameraman filming in shaky, real-time POV. And then, Copperfield and the same spectator run into view, dripping ocean water, screaming in disbelief. The audience loses it. Can you believe people have actually cried during this illusion? But here's the truth. That live feed is a choreographed hybrid, part real-time camera, part pre-shot footage, perfectly timed, perfectly matched. The magic isn't in disappearing, it's in convincing you that time and cause and effect still make sense, right before shattering it. And just when you think the illusion is locked, boom! In an instant, Copperfield is back on stage, holding a handful of real Hawaiian sand, still wet, still breathing heavy, as if he really just sprinted miles across oceans. The audience member reappears beside him. No props, no delay. Just pure emotional shock. That's why Portal remains one of the greatest illusions in history, not because Copperfield vanished, but because for a terrifying moment, everyone watching forgot the difference between magic and reality. Isn't that the most dangerous illusion of all? The death saw, Copperfield's daring, sawing in half spectacle. Why would a man willingly lie face down beneath a roaring industrial saw, chained, helpless, and inches away from being sliced in half in front of millions of people and smile while doing it? Because that man is David Copperfield, and what he's about to perform is not just a trick, it's a psychological assault disguised as entertainment. The infamous death saw illusion isn't a cute magic act. It looks like a real execution, and that's exactly why it works. There's no box covering his body, no assistant distracting you in sparkly costumes. Copperfield is completely exposed, strapped to a steel platform, wrists locked, torso flat, facing the lethal descending blade. This isn't like those classic sawing illusions where the magician cheerfully pretends to be cut in half. This feels dangerous. The lights go cold, the sound of the spinning saw screams louder, and the audience, for just a second, he forgets it's an illusion and believes they might actually watch a man die. That's Copperfield's first trick, not engineering, fear. He doesn't fool your eyes first, he fools your brain. As the enormous blade drops toward his spine, everything goes silent, except for the metallic growl of the machine. And then, chaos, sparks, and impact. The saw tears straight through him. No curtain, no barrier. You see his body split, upper torso on one platform, lower half on another, both rolled apart by assistants in full view. And the wildest part? His legs still move. The feet twitch. It looks horrifyingly real. Isn't it insane how your brain tries to rationalize it before accepting complete impossibility? But here's the question: how does he survive? The truth is, the genius lies not in one trick, but in dozens happening at once. Copperfield isn't just relying on props, he's weaponizing timing, body positioning, angled sightlines, decoy limbs, and human psychology. While you think he's locked and immobile, parts of his body are already out of danger before the blade even descends. His real legs might not be where your eyes think they are. The shackles? They may not be real restraints. Loose clothing and custom machinery are designed to mislead your brain's depth perception and symmetry detection completely. And when the two metal trolleys pull his halves apart, what you're really watching is a flawless combination of human substitution, mechanical engineering, and acting. Some illusions hide behind darkness. This one hides behind confidence. Copperfield makes you believe there's no trick to find, so you don't look for one. Then, in true cinematic fashion, the saw is reversed. The steel slabs are pushed back together. The lights shift from horror to hope. And, like resurrection on command, Copperfield rises, fully intact. No blood and no panic. No explanation. Just a victorious, almost arrogant smile, because he knows he just made millions question reality. And that is why Death Saw remains one of his most legendary acts. Not because he survived it, but because, for one terrifying moment, you were certain he wouldn't. Copperfield's flight, the art of human levitation. What if I told you there's a man who practically rewrote gravity itself? Not in a superhero movie, not with CGI, but on a live stage, in front of thousands of people watching with their own eyes. No camera tricks, no Hollywood edits, just pure, impossible flight. I mean, seriously, a full-grown adult floating into the air, flipping like a bird, gliding through space as if the laws of physics just took the night off. Sounds ridiculous, right? And yet, David Copperfield made the entire world believe it. His flying illusion isn't just a magic trick. It's one of the most technically advanced pieces of live engineering ever performed, disguised as sorcery. Copperfield doesn't just float up and down like some cheap stage levitation. He soars, he rotates mid-air, he curves his path like he's surfing invisible wind. He even flies into the audience. At one point, he drifts inside a giant glass box, sealed from all sides, and people still see nothing holding him up. And that's where the madness begins. This isn't magic, this is mathematics, aviation, and psychological misdirection executed at Olympic precision. The secret lies in ultra-thin, ultra-strong wires, thinner than a fishing line, and nearly impossible to detect under theatrical lighting. These wires, made from material stronger than steel, yet practically invisible from the audience's angle, are attached to a computer-controlled rig that tracks his movements in real time. And here's the crazy part. The system isn't just lifting him up like a crane, it's simulating flight physics. Meaning, the rig maps his center of gravity, shifts tension between wires to allow believable rotation, and calculates velocity changes as if he were actually flying like a bird, adjusting to air resistance. It's not just movement, it's movement with intention. Every tilt of his wrist, every arch of his back, is translated instantly by the system. That's why it doesn't feel robotic, it feels alive. But if it's wires, how do those famous hoops pass over his body? Those hoops are not innocent props. They're designed with invisible slits, opened at perfect timing by backstage operators, coordinated with his spin and the rig's angle, so the hooks slide around the wires instead of hitting them. The audience sees a proof test. In reality, it's choreography, and the lighting, absolutely ruthless. Every angle is engineered to hide reflection. The spotlights never cross the wire zones. The audience is seated at a mathematically optimized viewing cone. A camera cannot convey the same illusion because TV flattens depth, but human eyes, sitting in that one perfect angle, are controlled like lab mice in a physics experiment. Isn't it insane that the most powerful illusion isn't about deception, but precision? This isn't magic fighting science, it's magic weaponizing science. Copperfield didn't trick the world by hiding reality. He over-simulated it. He didn't break gravity. He recreated it so convincingly that our brains couldn't reject it. So next time you see him floating with effortless grace and think, no wires. That's impossible. You're right, because by that point, he didn't hide the wires. He made your brain forget they could even exist. Which of these Copperfield tricks messed with your brain the hardest? Seriously, was it the flying, the death saw, or something even crazier? Drop your pick in the comments. I need to know what broke your reality the most. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because trust me, the next illusion we expose will be even more impossible than this.